Now welcome. Oh. Now we go start to dey look wetin we fit dey do for inside the console and wetin console be anyway. So if we look this our code now, this our browser, you go see say for here, for this our example wey we dey work with, if I press F12, we go open the console. Now this console, e dey very broad. So make I open the main browser. Now for inside browser, you fit see say we get all these tabs wey dey for here. In case your layout dey like this, make una come here inside these three dots here. You click am, you fit move the dev tool anywhere you want. So I wan move am to this side of the screen. You click there and e go dey the side. If you click other places and e go still work the same. So this element na where you fit dey debug your HTML. So na to dey debug all our HTML code and all those things, na wetin we dey do for inside the element side of our code. We dey also use the style to dey debug our CSS, right? We don already see how we dey debug our CSS, but for JavaScript, we go need to dey debug am for here. We go dey debug am for the console. We also fit dey use the source to dey see the source for the whole code wey we dey work so. So if we dey see all our JavaScript code and all those things, we go see them for inside here also. But if we go the console, we go see say we get this hello world where we don console log from our code, right? So make I quickly move this doc to the side. If we don't move on to the side now, you go see we fit write all our JavaScript code wey we want write for here. So we can just do simple maths for here now. We fit just say 2 plus 2 and it go give us 4. You see say JavaScript dey help us dey quickly run the code like calculator. You fit even do minus, you fit do all those other things. We go reach that section eventually. For here, I just want to quickly show una how we go dey run our JavaScript code and where we go dey test our JavaScript from. If we go back inside our code, you go see say our console message e dey here. So if I say I want just do another code, so let's say I forget to add one quote. If I press save, we go get an error. We'll get syntax error. So you see say for inside here, our VS Code, because of today, VS Code don't they give us this easy debugger, don't they give us this indicator so we get error for here. But because we dey inside the browser itself go still show us say uncut error, and we have this syntax error. That's the most important word here, syntax error. For us to understand syntax error, we go first need to understand syntax. That na the way we write the code. Something dey wrong. You know, say it gets syntax for Yoruba language, it gets syntax for Igbo language, it gets syntax for Hausa language, it also gets syntax for JavaScript language also. So for this JavaScript, when they write like this, so because you say, okay, since we get syntax error, we need to fix the syntax error. So that waiting this dev tool, they help us they do. If we go write the wrong word for Hausa language or for Yoruba language or Igbo language, it could tell us, yeah, we they speak the wrong language. The same thing that we they do with the JavaScript. So for inside here, we fit just say, okay, waiting be the error where we cause. JavaScript, they even tell us that our Google Chrome browser, it tell us say we get the error for this line. For this our main.javascript file for line 1, right? And they tell us say we they get them for line 1, but they tell us where the code error they gangan that now this 13. So make we see if we check VS Code, we go see say we make the mistake for there. Another thing if you do, if you even click on, you go see say we make the mistake for here because we come out this code. So if I look here now for inside the browser, you go see say the error message you see they show for here. So as this error message they show, it they give us for the source tab all the issues where they open our index file because they read our index or HTML for us. They open our CSS file because they read all our CSS for us. They also open our main.js file because they read our JavaScript for us. So we gonna need to fix this code. So we feel say, okay, as we don't break this code for this line 1 now, make we go back into our code editor. Then for inside our code editor, now there we go come start to fix the code where we want fix. And for inside VS Code, make we fix this code. So we go say, since we get this error for here, and I say, okay, since I don't miss the string, I go just put quote, and that one don't help us fix that code. So if I press save now, if I go back to the browser or inside the console, you go see say we don't add our code for here for the console, and the error don't come up for here. So wetin we go to use now say whenever we get issues with our code, it go be very helpful to the console log your errors. But for now, that's all we need to learn. I will see you now for the next video. Thank you.